Tune in to the Social Impact Show with Samm Marshall, where we spotlight change makers and their inspiring journeys.
You're listening to the Social Impact Show with me, Samm Marshall, and what we do every week is we bring in experts to share their knowledge with us, with you. And last week we started this amazing feature with entrepreneur, thinker, coach Charmaine Soobramoney, and it was such an insightful 20 minutes. In that conversation, we learned so much. And one of the things she did, she broke up the word wealth, and it just left me with so much amazing feelings. Charmaine, good morning, and thanks for joining me.
Happy Tuesday, Sam. It's good to be here. Thank you.
When both you and I are not in studio, we're having this conversation miles apart from each other, but I thought it would, in the interest of continuity, that we should continue having these conversations. So how was your week since you appeared on the first Wealth Zen episode?
It's been fabulous, actually. It was the week of love last week, so there was a whole lot of celebrations. Some great, it's been amazing, actually. Thank you. And how was yours?
Yeah, no, I get to have a fabulous time Mondays to Fridays, 9 to 12, because I get to talk to people like you. One of the things that you did, Charmaine, is that you broke up the word wealth. And I thought, wow, what a powerhouse for a first episode, for us to really think about what wealth means. And it's not just financial wealth, it's wealth across the board. And I thought maybe I would, with you, unpack W, that first letter, right? And we could kind of flesh it out a little bit more. And through the next couple of episodes, unpack the word wealth and then kind of move on to something else, because we are kind of on a journey. So there's no rush to get through things. So we can really spend some time unpacking some of the nuggets you leave with us.
Sure, Sam. So the W actually stands for wisdom, right? And maybe today we focus on the concept of compounding. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. And when we spoke about this early in the week, because I want people to know that we actually planned the show. This is just this is not a random conversation just because we want to have it. But I was fascinated in the way you think about compounded interest, because I think we've only heard that word, or I have, certainly I can speak for myself, I've heard that word in relation to money, but not necessarily other things.
Sure. I mean, as you pointed out, people generally, when I actually do training or ask people, what do you understand by the concept compound? And they often go, oh, compound interest. I mean, according to Einstein, apparently, it's the eighth wonder of the world. But compound is so much more than that, Sam. It's about compounding in friendships, and it's about compounding in networks. It's about compounding in your daily activities. It's about just compounding in life, actually, in addition to your investments.
Yeah.
And often our thinking is so linear that we ignore all of the other things that we need to work on. For example, you asked me what I did last week, right? So
yeah, I did.
I went and watched the Bridget Jones movie, and I've never watched any of her movies. It was Mad About the Boy.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine actually bought us tickets, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen my friends since last year. And I actually do need to make time. So it was about investing in that relationship. And it was amazing. The point I'm making is sometimes you have to do things that you normally wouldn't. And movies is not really my thing. But to be in the company of amazing people. And that's about small acts that build on meaningful, supportive relationships. And we cannot live on our own. We need those meaningful relationships. And therefore we need to invest in it. The point I'm making, Sam, don't like movies, had to see girlfriends, wanted to see girlfriends, and did go out and see it.
But I've got a more important question. How was the movie?
Is that?
How was the movie? Was it terrible?
It was freaking amazing, actually. I was quite surprised.
Because I don't want to digress, but I saw the post and I thought, oh no, not another Bridget Jones. Like, Isn't she like past the sell-by date or whatever? I didn't want to be mean like
How
that.
dare you, Sam? We
but
never passed our sell-by days.
I am also a closet movie critic, and sometimes I see these things and I go, gee, was Hollywood and trying to kind of get the last drop out of a stone, if possible, the last blood of a stone.
I know. I have nothing to compare it to because I haven't watched any of our other movies. So I can't compare it, but it was an amazing
experience. It was the experience with the friendship. And, I think it's so amazing in terms of what you're saying. Movies is not your thing, but this was something your friend wanted to do with you. And often I find that we are so quick to say, nah, let's not do a movie, let's do this. And so we almost take the power away from the person who wants to spend time with us. And they get to end up doing something that we want to do. They get to compromise. But kudos on you for not imposing your will and being willing to experience something that is kind of out of your comfort zone, because I know you're a music person, you're not a movie person.
That's true, yeah. But there's a lesson for all of us there, Sam, and thank you for elaborating on that particular point. It's about being aware, it's about going into situations where you listen and there's an element of compromise. That helps you deepen your relationships, provided you really want those relationships, if that makes sense, right? It's doing things that you normally wouldn't do, but you're prepared to do because your friendship means a lot and you want to build on that.
Yeah. And so you talking about the compound interest of putting in the work, doing the micro steps, as you were talking about last week. In this case, the micro step was the willingness to get out of your comfort zone, to meet your friend where she was at, and be able to experience something that you didn't need to be in control of, but you were willing to want to be part of.
That's the power of compounding in friendships, actually. It's, there's an element of compromise, but through those processes, Sam, what you actually do as well, you kind of build trust and loyalty over time. You deepen those friendships because, there's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. I do what I want to do, and I'm not prepared to do what you want. You've made the point. I think we can, just move on from that. And it was 4 of us, actually. So it was really, really fabulous.
Oh, wow. It's like a kind of girls, like they did with Barbie, where they invited you and all your girlfriends to come out and watch the movie. So when you apply that, right? So that was something amazing. It strengthened your relationship yet again in a new way, added something, a new dimension to it. And I'm sure now you'll be open to go and watch another movie with those 4 friends. When it comes to personal one-on-one relationships, I think it's a little bit harder because you almost have to kind of step out of the way in order to develop. It's so easy for you because you know what the old adage goes, familiarity breeds contempt. So it's very difficult for people one-on-one to kind of think of the other person in the same way you thought of your friend, because it's easy for me to go, if my wife says, let's do this, and I go, I'm tired, I had a long day, I need some downtime, I need to, a quiet moment, so we put all these little stops in place. And I'm not saying that those acts are the reason that a potential relationship can be difficult. I'm just saying that if you do that often enough, it becomes difficult.
It is. I mean, as you speak to the points that you're making, Sam, there's an important lesson for all of us to consider, right? When we go, no, 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 try and understand why those blocks. Because there's often a deeper underlying reason to that.
Yeah.
And you need to create a level of awareness. And if it's important enough, then you'll find mechanisms to revisit it and do it differently.
Yeah. Do you think, I know we're talking about wisdom, and we're talking about, in the context of wisdom, compound interest, because there's that financial connotation. But as you've said, it's compound interest in friendship, in relationships, in dynamics, and all of that kind of stuff.
In networks, in life, it's about, so if you from a networking perspective, right? And we highlighted this last week, how important it is to actually build your network, not network, but your network, as in connections and things of that sort. And what I often find with networking, Sam, people are not really consistent and they don't really invest in networks. It's like, oh, I need XYZ from somebody, and they expect it within a period that's defined by themselves, and then they like move away from that relationship when it doesn't translate. So it's not building a network, but more a transactional relationship, and that works to their detriment. So the points, building on to the friendship thing you were talking about in relationships, is everything requires time and everything requires investment. You need to be clear on what is it that you want and how exactly you're going to show up and invest in those relationships. Some of my networks, Sam, I have them from the first time I got into the corporate space, like a long time ago.
That's years.
You need to invest and continue to grow. The relationship needs to be reciprocal. It needs to be a two-way street where you learn, you give some learning and insights, you create the energy, you're there to support. It's about sharing opportunities. It's like a myriad of things, and that's compounding in building networks. Not like, what the hell can I get from Charmaine? Okay, whatever, I'll go have a coffee. This is what I want. I need it in a week. She doesn't give it to me a week. I'm moving on to the next one. And that's why you find people don't really have a network that can call up or have them on speed dial or get favors done, because they don't invest in it. They don't understand the power of creating that valuable exchange.
Yeah.
And reputation, Sam, building your reputation takes time, right? And that's an act of compounding. Like we need to consistently deliver on our promises. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very true. And that final point is so important, is that reputation doesn't happen overnight. It is that compound of interest that builds the reputation. It's when you say you're going to deliver, you deliver. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. It's making the kind of choices that's reflective of who you want to be as a person, and not taking shortcuts. And I think over time, reputation is really reliability. This person is a reliable person.
Absolutely, Sam. And those are all compounding acts that builds your reputation, which you need to invest in.
So I love this. So we started off with wisdom, but we looked at wisdom from a compound interest perspective. We looked at the dynamics of friendship in terms of the compound interest of friendship, those micro steps that you do. Then we kind of bridged over to relationships, and then we're talking about networking, and now we are focused on relationships. And I love this idea that this concept is all-encompassing, that the steps might be slightly different in terms of how you build friendship, how you build a relationship at home, how you build your net worth, how you build your reputation. But it's all encompassing. And I think often, and maybe you would know this better than I do, where is the misstep here? Is it in you already living ahead of your station in life, so that you get frustrated with the micro steps? Or is it that you undervalue the work of the micro steps?
When you say misstep, you're looking at it from a context of why people don't get it right?
Yeah, and also why, I think it's obtainable for all of us to have good relationships, good friendships. I think that's attainable for all of us. But to your point a little bit earlier, some people don't want to invest their time and their effort into it. Some people are only in for what they get. And I'm wondering whether that is an action of someone who is ahead of themselves, that when they meet Charmaine, they think, well, she sits on many boards, so I can leverage this. Or is that some people just think that by not doing the work, like, I don't know if you've ever come across this, but some people, just because they're friendly to you, automatically extend themselves past what the dynamics of the actual relationship is. Just because they're friendly, it's almost, for lack of a better term, they try and take advantage of your kind-heartedness or the fact that you are friendly, and so they over leverage that, and they're not willing to do the small steps to get to know you, to build the relationship. So they just assume by being friendly to you in the first 10 minutes or the 4 times you've met, all of a sudden they feel they're in the inner circle or they're in the trusted circle, or they can call you up and ask you for anything.
You know, Sam, the reality is it's human nature to often, I mean, the world is built up of human beings, right, that have an agenda, and the agenda is to be able to build, grow, and accumulate as much as they possibly can for oneself. Fact. If you look at corporates, the dynamics are changing slightly, but the reality is that's what it is. It's based towards profitability, towards self, business, and that. Unfortunately, that's the way the world is wired. It's sad to say, but it's true, right? So to get back to your point, it is critical for us, and my hope is that as we continue these conversations, the people that go through this journey, our listeners, and you and I for that matter as well, as we go through this journey, we become so aware of who we are as individuals and really be able to read the room with such confidence that we can actually build those boundaries, that the people taking advantages and exploiting other people doesn't actually happen. Do you get my point?
Yeah, I do.
And the point I'm making is that in order for all of these compounding relationships and habits and things to happen, we need to cultivate really good habits. It just doesn't happen. And what are really good habits? It's regular practices that kind of move us close to our goals and our mission and our values. So am I making my point, Sam? It's like, yes, people abuse situations, but you need to be so smart and so aware that you can actually read the room and go, guy, you can try, but I'm not going to allow you to exploit me, because what we spoke about last time,
and Charmaine,
our piece is important.
And is that a bit of wisdom? Do you need a bit of wisdom to be able to discern the chaff from the wheat? Do you need a little bit of wisdom to be able to suss?
You need a lot of wisdom, Sam. It takes a while. You can't master it overnight.
Okay. So that means that we are going to make mistakes. You're going to, as you develop this sense or build this wisdom tool, that you're going to make mistakes along the way, and that you are going to kind of fall short of what the game plan is.
Absolutely, Sam. I mean, you should applaud yourself. And what we don't often do is actually give ourselves credit to go, well done here. Because through action, we'd be able to ensure we can learn from it, right? So yes, you're going to make mistakes from it. And the way I frame it, my mistakes or setback, is that I never lose. I either win or I learn. And every day, if you just learn from what actually happened, you actually become smarter, and you never repeat the situation that actually happened to you.
Yeah. I find that fascinating, because I think I've heard this many times before. I never lose. I either win or I learn. And I think when you have that mindset, you're already prepped in many ways to learn, right? Because I think people often that don't have that mindset are the ones that have not really done the work. And so I'm not saying that every situation in life, you potentially look at it from that perspective where I win and I learn. Some lessons are incredibly hard, and you need some time to recognize that this is an opportunity to learn, right? I might not have won, but I've learned something. And so some lessons are really, really tough. But if you are reflective and you are constantly aware of where you are emotionally, cognitively, where you are in that space and time, I think you get to this sweet spot where you're able to, with reflection, deal with the sadness, the pain, the rejection, whatever it may be, and then come to this idea that in actual fact, I learned something new about either my own bravery, my own willingness to have been part of that. As you said, pat myself on the back that I was not a victim for 1 second longer, and I was able to see, there are these stages and opportunities and moments to learn from that, but you need to be highly reflective, highly engaged, and you need a sense of maturity, because even the tough lessons, there's something that you can learn from those really tough ones.
You know, Sam, you make like such powerful points, actually, because just being reflective and asking the questions, okay, this was a bad situation. Yes, I had to go through it, but what was the lessons that I learned? That immediately frames your mind, and it also does something to your DNA, like, what did I learn? How could I be better? So you're kind of acknowledging the situation, but there's hope. They call it failing forward, taking the lessons and moving on and not being stagnant.
For sure.
That's where growth really happens.
Ma'am, in 30 seconds, your big, 20 minutes is gone, done and dusted. And we can do this every day, the entire day, because I feel every time I have these conversations, I'm learning and I'm growing. And then I have later tonight when I'm alone and I'm sitting by my desk, I have this moments where I just kind of think of my day, I process it. But what are the big thinking items that we have to think about? So wisdom was the big word for today. And we broke it down into compound interest and how these incremental steps is what adds towards the end game. So what would you like us to think about this week?
I think for us, in order for anything to stick, right, we can't really rely on willpower, because there's only so much there is, because on a daily basis, so much of our brain and our capacity and things is being like used up to do other things. What I would recommend for our listeners and ourselves, for that matter, is to think about what is it that we want to actually achieve and put in those micro steps and do it. For example, if you want to be a better leader and you want to read a book, right, when you wake up, or you want to learn more, when you wake up in the morning, make sure there's a book on your desk that you left the night before. So it's flippin' easy to be able to go and access it. Don't go scrolling through your phone. Do what you say you're going to do, but do those little things. Even if you save 10 rand a day, by the end of that year, depending whether it's 365 days or 366 days, you would actually have 3,665 rand. Those little things all add up. And then we'll unpack the power of compound interest from a financial perspective and what that could truly do for you from a wealth perspective. I know you said 60 seconds, but there's so much I wanted to share. Sorry, Sam, and the listeners.
No, that's great. Charmaine, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. This segment is called the Wealth Zen. We do this every Tuesdays with Charmaine Soobramoney.
Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you for all that you do and the impact that you have and the many lives that you actually make a difference to. I mean, we should have a show where I interview you, Sam. I just want to say thank you, and thank you to 919, and love and life to everybody out there, and make this a productive week.
Okay, that's a wrap from us. We'll do this again next week on Tuesday at just after 10:10 every Tuesday. We'll continue with some great music, and don't forget to email sales@919.co.za for that fantastic opportunity.
Tune in to the Social Impact Show with Samm Marshall, where we spotlight change makers and their inspiring journeys.